I go busking in Cork every week. I can, but I have no place to stay really. So that's it, like. Oh, it's a bit hard, alright, but thankfully the likes of Helping Hands and the homeless crowd and all that, they help us.
So how many of you are down here?
I'm not sure, I think it's about 10 of us.
And are you finding it tough at the moment?
Yeah, it's alright.
Homeless temporarily, was renting an apartment. I got let down. The landlord changed his mind last minute. I had the deposit paid and he changed his mind last minute, so we ended up here because I handed my notice in my last place. So we've been here now the last 5-6 weeks. Basically the rent has gone a bit too sky high, and it's without a car. If you're willing to travel to West Cork, somewhere like that, for cheaper rent, but without a car it's impossible. Rents are cheapest place $1,200 even for a 1-bedroom. It's like, how can people afford it? Even if you're working a full-time basic paid 10-hour job, you would be paying all your money towards rent. At the moment in this spot here, I'd say there's about 5 or 6, and in that spot, I don't know, we keep to ourselves down here. This area is a bit more quieter, to be honest, than that area.
And do you find that, there's kind of safety in numbers at least staying down here?
There is, to a point. There is, if you're with the right numbers.
And what would your worries be? What are your fears for living like this?
Getting robbed, as we've been robbed at knife point once already. I had a knife held to my throat while another girl tried to grab her bag, so we ended up just throwing him €20 because it wasn't worth. She fought the girl off. This was about 4 months ago. It was up by the Heineken factory. And when she was fighting the girl off, your man fell and he nearly cut my throat because he had the knife up against my throat, so they fell and bumped into each other. So I just said, there, take £20. That's all they wanted, €20. So I gave it to him and he goes, look, it's not worth it. You want to take the whole handbag, the passport, all our paperwork would have been in it, so
But this is the reality of not having a house.
It's very dangerous.
The thing is,
the houses boarded up, and I say there's over 5,000 houses boarded up in Cork.
20 houses are abandoned in Cork. There has to be. You see them everywhere. Why can't the government reclaim these unabandoned houses? I know they have to even sit long enough that they can claim them and family members don't claim them. But there's plenty of houses out there that could be very easily converted, or maybe make more halfway houses, maybe places where somebody could go rent a room.
Do you find this upsetting?
It is, but the thing is, you're going to get used to it, you get numb to it, because if you start getting upset in yourself, you just make yourself depressed, and then it gets worse and worse. You just think about it more and more, and it'll just put yourself into a hole,
And that's how you fall into the alcoholism.
That's how people actually do fall into addiction, because that's what happens, you see.
Do you mind me asking if anyone here has fallen into addiction?
I would say, to be honest, the majority of people are either on alcohol or diacetylmorphine or diamorphine, aka heroin.
Down here?
Yeah.
And do you mind living around that?
No. Well,
at the moment, there is a good group down here.
They keep everything clean. Like, there was a load of needles when we first came here, and in fairness,
cleaned up the whole place.
A lot of the lads cleaned them all up, and you actually don't see any needles or anything like that around here, which is good. But in fairness, we haven't seen much trouble here now. We've heard a bit of trouble up at that area. We've heard shouting and screaming, guards involved, but the guards haven't actually been down here, and they've actually left us alone. And as I said, down here, it's mainly people's problem down here is drink. It's all drink.
It's drink down here.
Yeah, drink, really.
Yeah.
So, as a woman, do you find it hard to live down here, just in terms of not having basic facilities?
Yeah, running water would be nice.
A shower would be nice.
And a shower, yeah.
Like, we book in hostel every now and again to be able to use their facilities,
Yeah.
Freshening up would be nice, to be honest.
But
it makes
they
a big
don't
difference.
like it. They know what you're doing and they don't like it.
And a lot of those hostels, they don't let Irish people rent, which I think is very biased, because if we went in and we say we're from Cork City, they will not rent us a room. Right? But if we were from up the country trying to rent a room, they'll rent a room to us. But because we're locals, they think that we're going to cause trouble.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hostels are like that. Nearly all of them. I say there's only 2 or 3 hostels in the whole of the city that will actually let people, if they know you're from the area, because they know that you're homeless and they think that you're going to draw trouble. That's a bit unfair. What our plan now is to save up. We're going to get a car. We might live in the car. She's got a full license, so she's been on the road a long time since she's 16, so her insurance is cheap.
Ford Galaxy family wagon is what I'm thinking of getting.
We're going to live in that for a while and then save up and then get a house in the country. That's probably the realistic bet. Then trying to get a house here, because it's too expensive, we'd need at least probably €2,400 deposit and a month's rent. Whereas we could get a cheap car, €1,000, €600 insurance for the year, live in that for a few months, save up and get a gap, then maybe down West Cork for 500-600. A more realistic price, you know.
But at the moment, this is your life. You're stuck here in tents at the back of the Mardyke while you try and actually get out of this kind of vicious circle.
We were actually the very first people to actually open this spot. We were the very first people here. So we were actually the first ones in this spot. We didn't break the fence or anything. This fence was already broke. Kids used to come in here and drink, but they've stopped coming here on the weekend drinking, thank God, because they'd be throwing bottles and be breaking glass everywhere. And you know the youth, you just don't know what the youth, they're unpredictable, especially after drink.
Are the winter months concerning you at this point?
Big time, yeah. We've never done it in the winter. So to be honest, we're not going to lie to you, we're going to have to probably break into a house, an old abandoned house, and stay in a squat for the winter. That's the only way to survive in the winter.
And plus, if there's any free rooms or a building they know of that's vacant,
if there's,
let
say,
us know.
a room for rent that will accept couples, because we've been looking online and a lot of those rooms for rents don't accept couples. I don't understand why. They just won't accept couples. So that makes it a bit more difficult for us.
Are you hoping to get employment again, or what?
Well, I'm after sending my CVs off, but I've heard nothing back.
It's tense for now, it is, until we can find something. But I said I've been looking through the papers for rooms to rent, but they're all no couples.
They're all looking for 3 months. 3 months.
3 months deposits. Some of them are looking for big deposits for some reason. I don't know. Is it because they're worried? I suppose, as I said, there's a lot of people trying to get in, and they're worried about the property getting damaged, which is fair enough. I can understand that.
Is this an upsetting situation for you?
Yeah, it is. It's. I did try my best over the years looking after my father and all that. After Mum passed away in '96, I had a dad to look after for 20 years, basically.
Tell me how you're feeling.
Upset, tired. More than anything, I'm exhausted. It's exhausting living in a tent. People have no idea.
Someone could give you a chance. What kind of chance could they give you?
They give me a job or something.
A roof over
my head,
He's a good guy, this man wouldn't hurt a fly, you know what I mean?
Good man, good prospect.
Out of all the people here, he's a good person, He doesn't deserve where he is at the moment. We're strong, we can deal with it. I was homeless back in 2007 for 6 months, I got myself out of it. I'll be homeless maybe for another few months, I'll get myself out of it, I always do. I'm well used to it, I know how to get myself out. It's just a matter of saving and just being vigilant when it comes to saving and looking for the right spot, and just keep looking and eventually you'll find it. It's just that these days it's just becoming so hard. We went to look in an apartment there 2 weeks ago, and there was a queue of about 30 people queuing to see it. How can you compete when there's 30 people queuing,
And they pick their own people as well, family, relatives and all that.
Or staying with kids or stuff like that, when they see a young couple, they're kind of a bit iffy, So it makes it very hard. To be fair, this rent hike, it should be stopped. They cannot keep putting the rent up. There is a few other people like us, as I said, there's a couple. There's not many now, I have to say. You obviously got your typical gang who are on the streets for the last 15 years and they're stuck on drink and drugs, and that's all the life they know. As we're pretty new to it now. And
can I ask you, has drink and drugs become appealing to you?
Yes, it has actually. Drink lately now has actually, in the last 2-3 weeks, has become appealing to us.
Winter's coming up and we're
we're a bit stressed out. We're bored. See, when you're walking around town all day and you've got literally nothing to do, there's no places to go, and even if there was something to do, and there's no outreach programs really, there is the Simon, right? They let you in the day centre and stuff like that, but all they can do is feed you and maybe offer you a bed. But they can't, and they might have some things up saying, there's apartments here for sale or apartments here for rent.
But they have their own crowd for that.
Yeah, they have their own crowd for that, and the prices are still quite expensive in this day and age,
And is there anyone else living here that's actually working?
There is. Well, actually, there's a guy, I think, in that green tent. He actually works. In fairness, he gets up every morning at 7. He's a big guy, but he actually does go to work. And there's another guy who actually is in a tent over here who works as well. They do get up and they do go to work.
Describe an average night here to me.
Average night is we get up, we go into town, we might go into the internet cafe for a while, we'll chill out, catch up in the news. In the evening time, home help turn up usually around 7 o'clock. We'll go down to them, they hang around for a few hours, we'll have a cup of tea, they sometimes bring pizza from Apache Pizza, stuff like that, feed people. And we'll stay there, we'll chat with them, we might get socks and jocks and a few toiletries off them, and we might go back to the internet cafe for a few hours, and then we'll come back here at about 11 o'clock, and we'll usually be in bed for about 12. And then we're usually up around 10, half 9. It takes us about an hour to get ready because we have to to use face wipes to kind of clean ourselves, you know. Those wet wipes, we have to wipe ourselves down and put on some cream, and the bugs are biting the bugs are biting the crap out of us, you know. So we've got
you're
hives.
all bitten, look.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hives all over us, so yeah, at the moment it's a bit of a tricky one. We have to charge our power bank, which keeps our phones charged up then, you see, so we need a bit of power just to keep communication, just in case something did happen, so we had to make a phone call. Because we're way down the corner, you can't even see us. We're tucked away in down the back there. So we have actually hidden away. Because when we first came here, we cut a hole in the ditch and we cut out little spots and no one would see us, and no one knew we were there for ages. And then after about 2 weeks, all these people turned up, so...
This isn't the way you saw your life going?
No. I was a qualified social care worker, and they closed the residential unit down, so I lost my job. And I'm still waiting on social welfare to come through, so I've no money coming in at the moment. And my idea now is to go up to the social welfare now to just to see what's the story with it. But like, leaving me without money and this situation, what's going on? What are the state doing?